Hi, and welcome to Culture Lit, a podcast and community that explores Black women and romantic love through the lens of romance novels. I'm your host, Octavia Marie. Each episode of Culture Lit shines a spotlight on a new Black romance novel and then deep dives into the many themes facing Black women and love after 40. Be ready to laugh, sigh, and talk about Black women falling in love, yes, sex too, and the Black authors writing their stories. Hey girl, hey. Welcome back to Culture Lit, the podcast where Black women's love stories, wellness journeys, and cultural brilliance take center stage. I'm your host, Octavia Marie, and if you're listening to this, thank you. Thank you for still being here, for coming back, for giving me grace during my hiatus. Yes, it's been a minute since I've yapped with you, and I could give you 100 reasons why, but here's the truth. Life happened. I needed space to figure out what this podcast is evolving into and how to show up authentically while I'm literally rebuilding my entire life structure. And you're coming along on this journey as I figure it out. We're going weekly, and I'm excited about where we're headed. And what better way to return than to talk about something that's absolutely perfect for this time of year, sports romance. Because listen, the World Series just wrapped up. The NFL season is in full swing. NBA basketball just tipped off. And if you're anything like me, there's something about fall and winter that makes you want to curl up with a book where the hero is an athlete with a soft interior and the heroine has a life that doesn't revolve around his schedule. So today, we're diving into why sports romances hit different, what makes a good sports romance, and I'm giving you my top picks for this season, with a focus on Black sports romance because representation matters, y'all. Let's get into it. Okay, so first question, what is it about sports romance that hooks us? Because on the surface, you might think it's just romance with a guy who plays a sport. But anyone who's read a really good sports romance knows it's deeper than that. Here's what I think makes sports romance so compelling. First, high stakes that translate. Athletes operate in a world where every game matters. Every play could be the difference between winning and losing, between a championship and going home empty-handed, between a career-defining moment and being benched. That intensity, that pressure, it translates beautifully to relationships. When you're reading about someone who understands what it means to show up under pressure, to perform when everyone's watching, to handle victory and defeat with grace, that character already has depth. They already understand discipline, sacrifice, teamwork. And when that same person applies that level of commitment to love, to showing up for their partner the way they show up for their team, chef's kiss. Second, the contrast between public and private. This is the part that gets me every time. Athletes, especially professional athletes, live so much of their lives in public. They're performing in front of thousands of people, cameras everywhere, social media dissecting every move, endorsement deals, sponsorships, the pressure to maintain an image. But what happens when they get home, when the jersey comes off, when it's just them and the person they love? That vulnerability, that softness, that private version of themselves that only their partner gets to see, that's the magic of sports romance. It's the contrast, the everyone thinks they know me, but only you actually know me dynamic. And when it's done well, when the author shows you both sides, the confidence on the court or field, and the insecurity in the quiet moments, that's when sports romance transcends the trope and becomes something real. Third, the discipline translates to devotion. Now, I can speak to this from personal experience because in my career as a PR professional, I've worked with NFL players and NBA athletes. I've been behind the scenes. I've seen what it actually takes to perform at that level. And let me tell you, athletes are some of the most disciplined people on the planet. They have to be. Early morning workouts, strict diets, practice schedules, game prep, recovery routines, travel, media obligations. Their entire life is structured around discipline and commitment. When I was working with these athletes, I saw firsthand how every single day is accounted for. Nothing is left to chance. They're not just showing up to games and winging it. They're studying film. They're in the weight room. They're meeting with trainers, nutritionists, coaches. They're doing press conferences and community appearances. They're managing their brand, their image, their legacy. It's a level of intentionality and discipline that most people never see. And when a romance author shows that same athlete applying that level of discipline to their relationship, to learning their partner's love language, to showing up consistently even when it's hard, to fighting for the relationship the way they fight on the court or field, that's when you know this isn't just a fling. This is someone who understands what it means to commit. Because if they can show up for their team, for their craft, for their career with that level of dedication, imagine what happens when they apply that same energy to love. That's the power of sports romance when it's done right. And finally, community. This is especially true in basketball and football romance, sports that require teams. The locker room dynamics, the brotherhood, the found family aspect of teammates who become brothers, the way the team rallies around each other on and off the court. That sense of community often extends to the romance. The heroine doesn't just get the athlete, she gets adopted into this tight-knit world. She becomes family to the team. She's in the stands wearing his jersey. She's at the team dinners. She's part of something bigger. And for those of us who value chosen family and community, that hits different. So when you combine high stakes plus public/private contrast plus disciplined devotion plus community, you get sports romance that's about so much more than just guy plays basketball and falls in love. You get stories about partnership, sacrifice, vulnerability, and what it means to show up for the people you love even when the world is watching. Now, here's where I need to say something important. Because yes, you can read sports romance by any author. There are plenty of great ones out there. But when Black authors write Black athletes, when they write the nuance of being a Black man in a predominantly white sport, or the pressure of being the first, or the only, or the way family and community show up differently in Black households, that's when sports romance becomes not just escapism, but representation. Black athletes aren't a monolith. Black love isn't a monolith. And Black authors writing Black sports romance understand the cultural context in a way that non-Black authors often miss. They understand the barbershop talk, the family cookouts, the way Black mothers pray over their sons before big games, the way code switching happens in locker rooms, the pressure of being a role model, whether you ask for it or not. That cultural authenticity, that's what takes a good sports romance and makes it great. So yes, I'm centering Black sports romance today, because we deserve to see ourselves in these stories, and Black authors are out here giving us exactly that.
Hey girl, hey. If you're enjoying the show, make sure you sign up for our occasional newsletter and join our community at culturelitpodcast.com, where we share book reviews. You can interact with our guests and you'll have a chance to tell me your story and be a part of our community. That's culturelitpodcast.com. Now back to the show.
All right, let's get into the books. I'm breaking this down by sport, and I'm giving you my honest takes on what works and why. Let's start with basketball because honestly, basketball romance might be my favorite sports romance subgenre. There's something about the pace of basketball, fast, intense, high scoring, constantly moving, that translates so well to romance pacing. First up, Kennedy Ryan's Hook Shot, Hoops Series, Book 3. So, I've talked about Kennedy Ryan's Hoops series before on this podcast, but I want to specifically highlight Hookshot because I think it's the best book in the series. For context, the Hoops series includes Long Shot, Book 1 featuring August and Iris, Block Shot, Book 2 featuring Banner and Jared, and Hoops Holiday, a holiday novella featuring Avery and Decker. But Hookshot, Book 3 featuring Lotus and Keenan, is where Kennedy Ryan really hit her stride. Here's what I love about this book. The main male character, Keenan, writes her notes and quotes the Song of Solomon. I mean, come on. The lyricism and emotion of those passages. And he's an NBA star. What can I say? I love a basketball romance. But beyond the romantic gestures, what makes Hookshot stand out is the opposites attract chemistry that nobody's gonna bring us down respect that Lotus and Keenan have for each other. Lotus works in the fashion industry. Keenan is an NBA player. They could not be more different from each other. One is an extrovert, one is an introvert, one likes to text, the other likes to handwrite notes. One lives on the East Coast, the other lives on the West Coast. Different, and yet they're completely in sync. They get each other, and they just work. I loved their story. I loved how authentic it felt. The characters are so real. I found myself putting myself in their shoes to process what they're processing, to decide on what they're deciding between. The book has a stick-to-your-ribs plot. What I mean by that is it's layered and full of substance. The story isn't about one thing. It's about many things, and they all work and blend and flow together. It's this blend that has stayed with me. If you're new to Kennedy Ryan or the Hoop series, you can start with Long Shot, but honestly, Hookshot can be read as a standalone, and it's the one I keep coming back to. Adorabol, Huckleby-Ordaz's On Merit Alone. Okay, this book. Both the main male character and main female character are professional basketball athletes. And honestly, this is what I wish the film Love and Basketball was more like. Unpopular opinion, I hated Love and Basketball. That movie felt toxic to me in ways I couldn't articulate at the time. But On Merit Alone, this book felt like a healthier, less toxic version of that story. I can't even find the words to sum up how much I loved this story. This was a delicious slow burn and such a heartfelt sports romance with almost no spice. Ira is a Hall of Fame romance hero, affirming, attentive, a protector, patient, kind, emotionally intelligent, all the things. Ira was just what Merritt needed, even though in the beginning she tried to tell him not to work for her love and trust. All of the characters are likable, and you're rooting for Merritt and Ira from day one. The book is lengthy, but it doesn't feel that way because the characters have good chemistry and banter, and you're wrapped up in their lives. I was so pleased having a front row seat to Merritt's healing journey and Ira's journey to figuring out who he is off the court. I also like how the author highlights sexism in women's sports and even the struggle that Black women face in the workplace if we don't come off as smiley and more. This was such a good time. Ira and Merritt were everything. So this was a slow burn where we went through the journey between two characters who unknowingly needed each other. Ira was so kind as soon as he met Merritt, and Merritt, being the shy, socially awkward self she is, took some time but opened up. I thoroughly enjoyed the plot. Two players who have gone through the same pain, same betrayal, and given the chance to give themselves a new beginning. This is Hall of Fame romance. If you love basketball romance, if you love slow burns, if you love seeing Black women athletes getting the love and respect they deserve, read this book. Kasha Thompson's Double Dribble, Las Vegas Ramblers series. Danessa Irwin is a successful realtor and business owner. Aldridge "The Tower" Mosley was traded to the Las Vegas Ramblers as the recently acquired point guard to replace their star player. He needs to settle into his new city, and his realtor is his college sweetheart, Danessa. She is his realtor, and he is her ex. Can they resist rekindling their love that ended 5 years prior? I have loved this series, Las Vegas Ramblers. Each story is a unique standalone that perfectly interweaves together. But this is by own rules. I love that Danessa and Aldridge focus on friendship and getting to know each other again. This was a slow burn, and I loved it. The tension and teasing, their unspoken possessiveness of each other. It was cute, and I appreciate how carefully the author handled the sensitive topics depicted in this story. I have loved this series. Go read Defensive Stance and Jump Ball. These are basketball love novels that explore the depth of characters navigating life. I'm such a fan of the Ramblers and want some gear. LOL. I highly recommend Double Dribble for the girlies out there. It's a good basketball romance. Aldridge and Danessa are college sweethearts whose strong relationship falls apart when insecurity gets in the way. Years later, Aldridge is traded to the Las Vegas Ramblers, and guess who his realtor is? Yup, Danessa. If you love second chance romance with depth, basketball as a meaningful backdrop, not just window dressing, and characters who actually have to do the work to rebuild trust, this is your book. Now let's talk football. Football romance has a different energy than basketball romance. It's grittier, more physical. The season is shorter but more intense, and there's something about football players, the size, the strength, the controlled aggression on the field that becomes tenderness off it, that makes for really compelling romance. Love Belvin's Love's Ineligible Receiver, Connecticut King Series, Book 5. Love's Ineligible Receiver is Book 5 of the Connecticut King series. This novel gets very deep into emotional wounds and flawed humanity. Rutledge is talented but emotionally stunted, carrying past scars that make him hard to root for at times. But that's the point. Parker, graceful and patient, challenges his guarded nature in ways he never expected. Their story is raw, messy, and layered with vulnerability, making the romance all the more real. Love Belvin doesn't sugarcoat growth. It's painful, but powerful. Here's a quick read snippet. The league didn't believe in me. I was the last pick of the first round. The coach didn't believe in me. They wanted me to sign my contract stacked against me, but I'll show them. I'll show them all. My agent didn't believe in me, but I get it. She's a female. The general don't halfway believe. He keeps threatening violence if I blow this opportunity. This club tagged at the first team event, well, let's say she's listening. I'm a Black, educated, and self-made man. I have no kids, and was rich and established before they added me to the odds and stacked against me. But I'll show them. I'll show them all, understand my name before it's all said and done. I was born a king, and now I am a king. Every book of Love Belvin that I have read has just taken me on a wild ride of emotions. You can just tell in her character development that she loves each character and writes them in a way that takes the reader through their journey with them. While reading Love's Ineligible Receiver, I fell in love with both Rutledge and Parker. We meet both of them at different points of their lives. Rut is the arrogant playboy who doesn't trust any woman. Not the women he's entertaining, his mother, or even his female coach. Parker, however, is a single woman caring for someone who was once her world. She's only 28, but she has taken on a role that most people do begrudgingly. She does it with grace and never acts as if she's a burden on her future. This is Love Belvin at her finest. Messy, real, emotional, and deeply human. If you love football romance that doesn't shy away from character flaws and growth, this is it.
Hey, romance book lovers. It's your host, Octavia Marie, and I've got something exciting to share with you. You already know how much I adore Black romance books. Now I've taken it to the next level. Introducing Culture Lit Podcast digital bookstore on bookshop.org. Visit bookshop.org/shop/Culture Lit Podcast. That's bookshop.org/shop/Culture Lit Podcast. This is the spot where you can find every swoon-worthy romance novel I've ever raved about on the podcast and so much more. Not only can you snag your next favorite read, but every purchase supports independent bookstores and celebrates the voices of Black authors in romance. It's a win-win for readers like us who love keeping the Black romance literary community thriving. Thank you for being a part of the Culture Lit Podcast community, and happy reading. I can't wait to hear what books you fall in love with next.
This next one is a rugby romance. Yes, you heard me. Rugby, as in a black rugby player. And I'm so here for it, because why should we limit ourselves? Tanvier Pert's One Night Stand is releasing on December 18th, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. It features Antonio from Ella Gets the D, and if you've read a Tanvier book, then you know shenanigans are sure to follow. And it has all the tropes. Here's a sneak peek. 3 years ago, I decided to have my first one-night stand. The plan was simple. Research how to do it and meet a man at the bar before the nerves playing with my guts got the best of me. I wanted to ring in the new year between a stranger's legs. Someone with good hygiene and exceptional tensile strength to take the edge off of studying mechanical engineering. Then he walked in, confident about a night with night, tales of toe cramps and matted hair. Antonio is the biggest player and not the man to relieve me of my pent-up tension. His ego didn't need any more stroking than it already got, and I wasn't about to contribute. I haven't read Tanvier's rugby romance yet since it's not out until December, but I'm already sold. STEM heroine, black Panamanian rep, one night stand gone wrong with a Playboy cinnamon roll hero? Yes, please. If you want something different from the usual basketball/football lineup, this is it. And it's Tanvier Pert, so you know it's going to be good. All right, so we've talked about why sports romance works, and I've given you 5 solid recommendations. But let's talk about what separates a good sports romance from a mediocre one. Because I've read sports romances that felt authentic, and I've read sports romances where the sport was just window dressing, where the author clearly didn't do their research, where the hero could have been a doctor or a CEO, and nothing about the story would have changed. So here's what I look for in a great sports romance. 1. Authentic sports details. You don't have to be a sports expert to write sports romance, but you do have to do the research. I want to feel like the author actually understands the sport, the training, the game strategy, the locker room culture, the travel schedule, the media obligations. When the sports details are authentic, it adds texture to the story. You understand why the hero is exhausted during playoff season. You get why missing a game for a family event is a big deal. You feel the stakes of an injury. But when the sports details are vague or clearly researched from Wikipedia, it pulls you out of the story. Good sports romance makes you believe the hero is actually an athlete. And all 5 books I recommended today, they nail this. Kennedy Ryan, Adorabol Huckleby-Ordaz, Love Belvin, Kasha Thompson, Tanvier Pert, they all did their homework. The basketball feels like basketball. The football feels like football. The sports aren't just set dressing. 2. Balancing the game with the romance. This is a delicate balance. Too much sports detail and you lose the romance readers who just want the love story. Too much romance and the sports part feels like an afterthought. The best sports romances integrate both seamlessly. The sport isn't just what the hero does. It's part of who he is. His identity is shaped by it. His relationships are affected by it. His life rhythm is dictated by it. But it's not the only thing. He's still a full person with hopes, fears, insecurities, and a life outside the game. Great sports romance authors know how to weave the sport through the narrative without letting it overtake the love story. 3. Avoiding toxic alpha stereotypes. Look, I get it. Athletes are confident. They have to be. But confidence doesn't mean controlling. It doesn't mean jealous. It doesn't mean possessive. And unfortunately, a lot of sports romance falls into the trap of making the hero a dominant alpha who treats the heroine like property. Hard pass. The sports romances I love feature heroes who are confident on the court or field, but who understand that relationships require vulnerability, communication, and respect. They're not trying to control their partner's life. They're not jealous of every man who looks at her. They're not making decisions for her. They're partners. They communicate. They compromise. They show up. That's the difference between an alpha and an asshole. And good sports romance knows the difference. Think about Ira in On Merit Alone. Patient, kind, emotionally intelligent, or Keenan in Hookshot, romantic, respectful, consistent. These are men who show strength through tenderness, not dominance. 4. Strong heroines with their own lives. This might be the most important one. I'm tired of reading sports romances where the heroine's entire life revolves around the hero's schedule. She's just sitting around waiting for him to come home from practice. Her career is flexible enough to travel with him for away games. She has no friends, no hobbies, no ambitions of her own. No, thank you. The best sports romances feature heroines who have full lives. They have careers they care about, friends they spend time with, goals that have nothing to do with the hero. And the romance? It's about figuring out how two full lives can merge without either person shrinking. That's the story I want to read. Not woman gives up everything to support her man's dream, but two people who both have dreams figuring out how to build a life together. Merit in On Merit Alone, she's a professional basketball player with her own career, her own healing journey, her own goals. Danessa in Double Dribble, she's a successful realtor and business owner Parker in Love's Ineligible Receiver. She's caring for someone she loves and building her future on her own terms. That's good sports romance. So, to recap, good sports romance has authentic sports details, balances the game with the love story, avoids toxic alpha stereotypes, and centers heroines with their own full lives. When you find a book that checks all those boxes, hold on to it, because that's the good stuff. And listen, I know I said this at the top, but I want to circle back to it. Fall and winter is peak sports romance season. Football, basketball, rugby, all happening at once. The weather's getting colder. The days are getting shorter. You want to curl up on the couch with a blanket, a hot drink, and a book that makes you feel something. Sports romance is perfect for this vibe. There's something about reading a romance where the hero is playing in a high-stakes game while you're watching actual games on TV. It adds a layer of immersion. You start to notice things, the way athletes celebrate, the way teams rally around each other, the intensity of playoff energy. And suddenly, the sports romances you're reading feel even more real. So if you've never tried sports romance before, or if you tried one years ago and it didn't land for you, I'm inviting you to give it another shot this season. Start with Kennedy Ryan's Hookshot. Add Adorabol Huckleby-Ordaz's On Merit Alone. Check out Belvin's Love's Ineligible Receiver, Kasha Thompson's Double Dribble, and pre-order Tanvier Pert's One Night Stand. And then come back and tell me what you thought. Tag me on Instagram or threads at Becoming Octavia with your favorite sports romance. Let's build a list together, because here's the thing. Black sports romance is a growing subgenre, and the more we support Black authors writing these stories, the more we'll get. So let's show up for them the way their heroes show up for their heroines. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for giving me grace during my hiatus and for being excited about where we're headed. Culture Lit is back, we're going weekly, and I can't wait to share what's coming. Next week, November 25th, I'm sitting down with Jaquel J for a conversation that you absolutely will not want to miss. So subscribe if you haven't already, leave a review if you're feeling generous, and share this episode with someone who needs a good sports romance recommendation this season. Until next week, keep reading, keep dreaming, and remember, your life is the greatest romance novel you'll ever write. Make it a good one.
You've been listening to Culture Lit with Octavia Marie, and that's all for us this week. Be sure to listen, download, or subscribe to more episodes of Culture Lit. You can find Culture Lit on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Apple listeners, please be sure to leave a review and let us know what you think. Don't forget to talk to me on social or share your Black love stories at Becoming Octavia Marie on Instagram or XO Octavia Marie on Twitter.